Martin Luther King Jr., 1929 to 1968. Yeah, put it on the side. Bring it. Man. Martin Luther King, give it it. Give it it. Y'all got y'all own. Look. Both of y'all got it. I'm giving myself and y'all go get your own. Y'all go get your own. What y'all's? Martin Luther King Jr., 1929 to 1968. You gonna sit here with Daddy? You wanna sit here with Daddy? Huh? Come on, sit with Daddy. I don't give it. Daddy got you. Boom. Let's read about Martin Luther King Jr. Sit back. Sit back. Head back. So I can read. Martin Luther King Jr. was an Atlanta Baptist preacher who graduated from Morehouse College. He is the most famed civil rights activist. That's right. Don't shoot us in the face. He was the most famous civil rights activist in American history, due to his use of nonviolence to evoke social change. His reign began in the 50s in the Deep South, where he participated in sit-ins and boycotts. Sit-ins and boycott efforts. Come on, man. Stop it. Sit-ins and boycott efforts to desegregate public facilities and get the right to vote. He paid his dues to the movement through multiple arrests and brief jail time. He was a trouble man trying to do the right thing with God. He was an eloquent writer and enthralling speaker. You see, get up, man. Get up. An enthralling speaker, and soon rose to popularity in another hard-working civil rights entity he co-founded, the Southern Christian Leadership Council, SCLC. King organized blacks by appealing to them from the pulpit in churches all over America. He involved young blacks and armed them with the nonviolent concept as a way to remove civil barriers. King led his followers in many marches, many ending in humiliation, injury, abuse, and jail stints. He and his marchers often felt the vicious teeth of police dogs, iron-tempered nightsticks, cuts inflicted by stones and bottles, and the powerful thrust of high-powered water hoses spraying 100 pounds of pressure per square inch. King managed to desegregate many institutions in the South, got blacks on the ballot, and organized the other cities into action. And all was done by nonviolent passive resistance. Hey, leave my stuff alone. Leave my tools alone. While many believe that King copied nonviolence from Mahatma Gandhi, he actually embraced some ancient Greek ideas on the meaning of love, eros, philia, and agape. After studying the definitions of these, he settled on the agape method, which he believed was supported by the teachings of Jesus in the Holy Bible. He defined agape to mean one does not love another because they are necessarily worthy, but because God loves him. He told the press to inform his white racist opponents that we shall match your capacity to inflict suffering by our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet your physical force with soul force. Do to us what you will, and we will still love you. Bomb our homes and threaten our children, and as difficult as it is, we will still love you. Send your hooded perpetrators of violence into our communities at the midnight hour and drag us out on some wayside road and leave us half dead as you beat us, and we will still love you. This theme of obeying Jesus and loving your enemy became his major commitment. Ooh, man. He theorized we cannot solve this problem through retaliatory violence. We must meet violence with nonviolence. Remember the words of Jesus: he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. But Jesus also told him to go get a sword. If you do not have one, sell the clothes off your back, you see. Say your not the clothes, say your jacket. We must make them know that we love them. We must meet hate with love. Amazingly, he found many cohorts in the black male leadership pool who joined him and attracted others to this kind of rationale. Outspoken black power factions disagreed with him and were often responsible for retaliatory violence when attacked by whites for trying to integrate or march. To celebrate the centennial of 100 years of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and commemorate all the social achievements earned by blacks between 1863 and 1963, black men leaders decided to host their own notable event, the March on Washington. Hundreds of thousands of blacks from all over the country and foreign shores, leaders, ministers, priests, educators, politicians, entertainers, students, white sympathizers, civil rights agencies, government workers, and peoples of all nationalities, mostly black and white, convened at the Lincoln Memorial statues to express their solidarity. Their theme song, "We Shall Overcome," was sung in unison with much emotion and sincerity. And it was here that King, the keynote speaker, gave his most famous and moving address, the "I Have a Dream" speech, where he promised those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolts will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. Dr. King was sincere in this idea. However, it didn't quite exactly happen the way he thought it would, verified by the quiet inactivity of blacks today. Sit up. Sit up. King skillfully combined religion, conscience, and law to challenge civil violations against Negroes. He was awarded many honorary degrees and citations for his dedicated work. Oh, you got to be still there. Dedicated work to eliminate racial prejudice by using nonviolent methods, love, and prayer. He aided many in obtaining employment opportunity, better housing, education, and legal representation. One of his greatest achievements was being nominated and receiving the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize, which was an international competition. It was King who brought the civil rights issue to the national attention after he and his followers were set upon by excessive police brutality during the Freedom March in the South. Some of his ideas were accommodated by President John Kennedy, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and President Lyndon B. Johnson. Federal troops were sent in to enforce government rulings against segregation on King's behalf. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot dead on the balcony of a motel in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968 by a Caucasian sniper. After his reported death, there were 126 riots in major cities during which 46 died, 21,000 were arrested, and hundreds injured. King had a very mournful funeral with sympathizers expressing grief from all corners of the world. After this untimely death, the civil rights movement slowed down somewhat due to the absence of its internationally known charismatic speaker. Many schools, streets, buildings, parks, gymnasiums, sports fields, and libraries were named after him. Conclusion. Obviously, Dr. King believed in social and sexual integration, and he prayed for it for his children because he saw it as a benefit. He had a sincere belief in politics and fought hard to gain voting rights for Blacks in the South and North. He was a devout Christian and gained strength in the singleness of purpose from his religion. He made it a guiding factor to justify his actions of passive, nonviolent resistance. He was not concerned with Negroes opening their own business, but pleaded with them to be allowed to enjoy equal opportunity, jobs, humanitarian rights by acceptance into society. He definitely was not for self-defense of any kind. He was not concerned with names. His only connection to heritage was his belief that all people came from and were created by God, and Jesus loved everybody equally. He was not in disagreement with Black pride, but felt it would come from gaining civil rights guaranteed by the Constitution of every American. Today, his wife, Coretta Scott King, continues to represent and preserve her husband's memory. She organized to build the now famous tourist spot, the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta. This facility has a souvenir gift shop, daycare center, and offers community services much needed by the people in that area. As far as King's legacy of advancements, Blacks are riding any place they want to on public transportation, can eat in any restaurant, drink out of any water fountain, register to vote, attend any school, shop any store, frequent the movie house of their choice, live anywhere they please, participate in the political process, marry into white families, and apply for work any place they desire. If the aforementioned rights are the measure, then King indeed left a great legacy. King indeed left a great legacy. It is quite plausible to infer that if it had not been for Dr. King's constant nonviolent protests against segregation, that Blacks would not be able to have the public freedom of motion they currently enjoy. Man, it is just as easily apparent that had Blacks used the same energy towards building their own facilities and institutions, that they would be in a better economic and leadership position today. Yes, I believe that. Because now they have access to all those integrated services and establishments. Few can afford to patronize them, and these same privileges are the ones which take needed dollar out of the Black community almost faster than they can come in. Martin Luther King Jr. introduced the Black man to voluntary masochism. He, instead of uplifting their strength and dignity, required them to be weak, bombed, gassed, and insulted. In the name of getting equality, he ushered black men to, he ushered black women, old and young, children of all ages, and adult black men who should have known better into humiliating, degrading, life-threatening situations that cause much emotional suffering. He challenged blacks to see how much abuse they could take from whites in order to eat, work, play, and sleep with them. Had he lived, he too would have grieved over the oozing losses of what he had suffered to maintain. He obviously experienced sharp conflict internally, and forcing himself to go against the natural instinct of any mammal, which is to retaliate when attacked. His eloquence of speech, his face of humility, dynamic terminology, and his references to Jesus and the Bible allowed him to hypnotize his followers into believing that unabated, unwarranted, and absolute love for the white brothers would tumble down the barriers of racism. His platform, deducted from the Greek history of Pythagoras and Mahatma Gandhi, mixed with a bit of Jesus Christ, put him on a mission. He was an honorable, civilized, dedicated black man leader. He just applied all those excellent attributes to the wrong place. If Martin Luther King is considered the greatest all-time black man hero, then African American men are surely doomed. A man must not just be judged by his sacrificial behavior. He must be judged by the sensibility of his ideas and the permanence of his agenda. Dr. King is honored for his cause and not his effect. What are the benefits? Yes, Dr. King was persistent in goading blacks into volunteering to get their heads cracked, ribs bruised, and egos humiliated. All of which has turned out today to be of little or no value. His program inspired blacks to turn all their good ideas and money over to whites. It made them think that there was no point in building anything for themselves because as long as they were permitted entry into white-owned facilities, there was no need to. That's why segregation was good. That's definitely one reason why segregation was good. It also made them think that as long as they were qualified, that they would be guaranteed equal and fair treatment on the job. King's so-called civil rights gains have ended up being the very foundation of the problems blacks face today. When rejected from employment in white-owned businesses, they have no place to go, and it does not matter how much education they have. Attending school with whites and using their curriculum has removed the little bit of black culture that blacks tried to express in the early 60s and prompted black men to venture on an insatiable quest to interrogate into white society. King is the major force credited for making all of these advancements available. Today, the black man is right back where he started during the pre-civil rights era. Damn. He is trying to find work, a place to live, a good education for his children, affordable food, reasonable clothing, goods and services, and a way to express and remember his black culture. And he is still fumbling with issues about his name and religion. King thought he could shame racists into accepting blacks by calling on the spiritual conscience of white America. He would be very sad today when it made me think of the Boondocks episode where he was brought out of cryogenics. He would be very sad today when all sentimentality is put aside. The black man must make a decision and determination for himself who his heroes are, based upon their pertinent accomplishments and the useful longevity of their ideas. Speculation arising after King's death that he was planning to take a more militant stand in his civil rights and anti-war protests remain unsubstantiated. Whew. Like 3 pages left. Oh Lord, I lied. 4. Oh, 5. 4, 5. Jesse Jackson. This is the last one. Jesse Jackson's the last one, and then is the overall conclusion, the overview conclusion. We'll read that too. Whew, man, let's get it though. Jesse Jackson. 1941, still living. I don't know if he's still living. I think Jesse Jackson still living. I know who it was that died. Colin Powell. Colin Powell just died. I don't remember if Jesse Jackson died or not. Jesse Jackson is a graduate of the Southern Black College and an ordained minister of the Christian faith. He has been active in the civil rights struggle for over 30 years. His tenure in the movement has been an exciting one. Starting with sit-ins in Greensboro, North Carolina, to membership yes, sir. To membership in the SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Council in Atlanta, he met Dr. King. My bad, I'm sorry. He met Dr. King in 1965 while participating in the Selma March, rallied the black clergy behind Dr. King's nonviolence curriculum, organized many human rights groups in Chicago, and brought civil rights consciousness to northern cities. He launched Operation Breadbasket, established by King to instigate better hiring policies for blacks in Chicago. He was known for being colorful and capable. He became a magnificent speaker, often urging blacks to form a separate political party and endorse their own candidates to represent their interests. He established Operation Push, People United to Save Humanity, a group formulated to organize groups made up of common laborers, farmers, and women, a rainbow coalition. He designed Push Excel to promote better academics for young children, and was elected by Black Enterprise magazine in 1980, as I was born, as the major spokesman for blacks. His next major project was running for president of the United States of America. I didn't know that. His special way of articulating any idea by creating a catchy phrase or rhyming his words entertainingly drew attention from the public and the media. He toured the entire country in 1983 and 84, touting his famous caption, "I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody. I am somebody.
I am somebody.
There you go. I am somebody. His travels took him to the campuses of historical black colleges and universities, where he used his long life talent at motivating and mobilizing people into action. He influenced students in record numbers to register to vote and help him campaign through advertising and donations and raising money. He visited the pulpit and enjoined the black church to support his nomination campaign and raise money for his quest to become the first black president. He was greeted with enthusiasm, admiration, and belief. Get out the way, pick a head, boy. I'm trying to read. One look. His sparkling good looks and intelligent manners gained him acceptance. Now I'm over here. I'm reading this part. Gained him acceptance by any audience and any media. Reverend Jackson did not get the Democratic nomination in 1984, but he certainly aroused the idea of the possibility. No matter how remote, during his political tenure, Jackson has tried many approaches, peaked in some, and failed miserably in others. But his unabashed determination kept him in the forefront. His announcement of seriously running for president of the United States was a modern, receptive idea to the few remaining liberals and every disappointed black. His revolutionary style of speaking garnered the ears of progressive blacks on the poor, while it was plain to any political scientist that Jackson's bid for the presidency was just scrimmage. It soon became apparent 4 years later, in 1988, that Jesse had actually started to believe that he could be president of the United States. He made the campaign money collecting rounds again, still basing his platform on demanding justice and attention to the little American, the disfranchised. This time, he received several electoral votes and persuaded Michael Dukakis, the real nominee, to allow him to present a speech and introduce his lovely family at the convention. It was Jackson's shining hour as he dramatically delivered his "Yo Patch is not big enough" speech about the plight of the poor in America. After the real Democratic nominee, Dukakis, was chosen, Jackson embarrassedly flitted around trying to see if he would get an appointment. Come on, my boy. Come on. When this didn't materialize, the entire black population was crushed. The deadly infection of AIDS penetrated the African American community in 1984, and the debilitating crack cocaine drug epidemic showed up in 1985. Both crucial years for black leaders to arise and confront these issues and start stopping and stop gap measures, but none came forth. Conclusion. That's it. Other than Stokely Carmichael, who no longer resides in America, Jesse Jackson was the only one of the top 10 black men leaders still alive. Due to his credibility of purpose while affiliated with the civil rights industry, coupled with his youth and quick thinking use of metaphors, he has been, for over 20 years, somewhat of a spokesman for blacks. He makes a stunning appearance and is a beautiful specimen of a black man. I see you, Miss Ali. Miss Ali said he was a beautiful specimen. A beautiful specimen of a black man. I said Miss Ali said that he was Miss Ali said that he was a beautiful specimen of a black man. You better keep your balance. Jesse Jackson is what was termed in the 1960s as a professional rapper. This was long before rap music gained its popularity with black youth. Jesse can talk. He can say it right. He speaks the language with such flourish and spontaneity. Yeah, man. Spontaneity. That his listeners get caught up in the fascinating way he arranges his words. Get off me, boy. Get off your daddy. You're gonna get caught up. You're gonna get caught up. He has fallen slightly in popularity, resulting from his now predictable platform and his inability to reach the goal. Bite your knee off. I'll bite your knee off. I'm trying to read, man. His inability to reach the goal for which he gained the most notoriety. Jackson fooled African Americans into believing that he could be the first black man president of the United States. Twice now he has traveled the country pumping blacks into emotional frenzies with his "I am somebody" yells and inciting another yells and inciting another cheer from his supporters of "Run, Jesse, run! Run, Jesse! Run, Jesse, run! Run, Jesse! Run, Jesse! Run, Jesse, run! You better run! Run, man! You better run!" Ideally for the presidency, he spent a waste of black dollars and black time. Oh man, he spent almost 8 years. Get out. Pursuing. He spent almost 8 years pursuing this illusionary dream, resulting in a waste of black dollars and black time spent on a project of futility. He gallantly. You better get down. He gallantly went overseas to gain the release of American hostages and continued to function as if he was an American government dignitary. Studies say that a white American child's chance of growing up and becoming president. Come on, man. Of becoming president are 1 in 27,773,000. I did it. You see it? So a black child's chance of accomplishing this increases the odds by at least 9 times. Straight ahead. Jesse has a greater chance of being struck by lightning, which is reported to be 1 in 650,000 people. Any African American who acknowledges this painful truism is spurned by other blacks who, instead of dealing with reality, I got you. Get off my beard. Instead of dealing with reality. Look. You got to get down, man. You got to get down. Get down. Thank you. Any African American who acknowledges this painful truism is spurned by other blacks who, instead of dealing with reality, choose to participate in Jesse's fairy tale dream. Jesse used to expound proficiently, very clearly in the needs of blacks, politically, socially, and economically. His involvement in his involvement in playing like he was going to be president robbed the black community because it drew his attention away from the torrential problems created by his so-called presidential opponent, Ronald Reagan. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Who was succeeding in canceling over $50 billion in social spending that mostly affected black people. But Jesse was too busy getting ready to running and recuperating from his loss of the nomination to give his serious attention to these issues. Due to his need to encompass all the nationalities into his plan, which he expected to enact during his job as chief of staff, he chose to embrace a class struggle representation. Since that time, he has ineffectually tried to mesh his message to include every group and every nationality. This he has continued to call the Rainbow Coalition. He says this means he represents all colors of people, but there is no black in the rainbow. Is brown in the rainbow? Is brown in the rainbow? I don't think so. And thus, there is no pot of political gold at the end of it for Jesse. He has finally spread himself too thin. He has tried to be everything to everybody. He is no longer straightforward in his opinions or conclusions, for he has grown afraid of losing his multicultural stance. Reverend Jackson is an excellent organizer with powerful influence, which could be better utilized in chasing behind elusive bids for the presidency. Hopefully, the good Reverend will apply his vast talents to goals more grounded in the reality of the condition of his people, his own black people. As soon as he gives up his quest for cross-racial acceptance, the real Jesse will emerge stronger and more experienced and will function as the kind of black man leader African Americans need. He certainly has the potential. Jesse has remained in the public eye periodically and hosted a nighttime TV talk show out of Washington where he is also president in waiting. He is still very, very popular on the lecture circuit. We're almost there. We're almost to the end. Overall conclusion. After reading these brief analogies about the ideas of the major top 10 black men leaders of the past 175 years, it is apparent that only two of them provided solutions to the kinds of problems blacks persist in having today. These two are Booker T. Washington and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The 2 out of 10, that's 2 out of 10, not bad. While black men incessantly cry for justice, freedom, jobs, respect, recognition, protection, education, pride, unity, and economic strength, a few black men, when put to the test, are willing to work for these rewards under the only programs they know of that provides them with ways and ideas to attain these goals. Today, recognizing the failure of the ballot, civil rights gains, and high education to improve their mental, emotional, and financial conditions, blacks are suggesting that striving for social goals is now passé. They are on the brink of developing new strategies different from the routine. Demands are being made for separate schools for Black children to address their special needs, instituting self-help programs for economic empowerment, and a return to traditional values and morals to repair the Black family. These basic goals are being recorded as the creative discoveries of the new Black leadership. But this is not true. Blacks are being forced by survival necessity to use the principles of and foundation ideas first introduced by Booker T. Washington in the late 1800s and improved on and expanded by Elijah Muhammad in the mid 1930s over the next several crucial years. Black men leaders will try to pick out various aspects of Washington's and Muhammad's programs and try to mold and adjust them to meet the current economic, social, and cultural needs of the people. Because Washington and Muhammad had the only complete programs, not boy, you almost bust your mouth open. Yeah, you almost bust your mouth open. You need to be careful. You need to be careful. Especially since today's Blacks are being forced to return to their ideas under the guise of calling them Black Republican or Democratic ideologies. Selective amnesia is happening again. The other 8 Black men leaders promised their people personal recognition. Oh, your hands cold. Your hands cold. Oh, they cold. Your little hands cold, my boy.
Oh?
Yeah. Oh, you hear that, Willie boy? Yeah. Let's sit you up. Sit you up like that. The other 8 Black men leaders promised their people personal recognition and social freedom in accord with their American dream. They chose to identify with the political idea instead of working for independence. Their idea was that Blacks must gain by shrewd manipulation of the law and human protest, all civil rights, mainly integration, before anything else could be addressed. Their political dialogue relieved them of any responsibility to provide their followers with a real-life plan. This also allowed them to grandstand media based on their sermons about humanitarian rights with no real accountability. These choices eliminated self-sufficiency and made Blacks crave for acceptance from the majority race in America. They violated all the laws of self-preservation. Today, as yesterday, the black man needs a step program in the dynamics of pursuit, how to get things done, how to make proper choices and navigate the shortest distance between two parts. Planning is a specific function for these actions, and he must have foresight, adequate forecasting ability to measure the positive and negative potential of every plan considered. If after the pre-designated date no progress is being made, he must discipline his ego and quadruple his efforts to reach success. He cannot alibi. How do we ascertain the traits needed to become a black man leader? He must first realize that the basic premise of leadership lies in the proper deployment of men. What you doing? What you trying to do? What you trying to do? I'm gonna grab your leg and The very structure of African American disorganized daily life calls for special leadership. These black men must have local goals whenever possible. Their objective must be clear because the effectiveness of good ideas vary in proportion to the people's understanding of what it is they need to do. This comes down to communication in a language that the masses of the people can understand. Yes, it is necessary to have black men leaders. Black men instinctively divide themselves into two classes, leaders and followers. The leaders must accept any rules required to reach the goals, and the followers must have something to do, preferably work. The base for which the black man will revive depends on the satisfaction he receives from his work. But he first must have some work, some principles to live by, and some rules to follow to keep him on target. The black man can reestablish the respect for his community only by being the example of change. And this is his last opportunity to do so. He must intelligently weigh the ideas of every black man leader and consider them with the understanding that there is no plan available that all black men agree with 100%. So he must choose a selected program and work for the good of it diligently. Another example of wasted black male leadership took the form of Nelson Mandela, a bright nationalist here in South Africa. Mr. Mandela gave up 27 years of his life suffering in a rotten prison. Be careful, man. With few accoutrements. Let's see what that word means. Accoutrements. Ball. Few accoutrements. ACCOUT. ACCOUTREMENTS. Accoutrements. Man, be careful, man.
All right.
Woo!
Mine.
No, sir. This is my dictionary. It's a dictionary. Watch back. Don't tear my pages now. Don't tear the pages. No, sir. ACC. Oh, wow. OU. Accoutrement. It is a word. Accoutrement. It says equipment, trappings, a soldier's outfit, not including clothes and weapons, an accessory item of clothing or equipment, the act of accoutring, an identifying and often superficial characteristic or device. Mr. Mandela gave up 27 years of his life suffering in a rotten prison with few accoutrements, with few accessories to include clothing and equipment for comfortable survival. He was a political prisoner in protest against apartheid in South Africa and used his exile to gain the attention from other freedom fighters around the world. Nelson Mandela failed to reach his goal. After a quick flurry of media coverage, welcome home parades, and a little special recognition from the USA, his life has gone back to normal. Apartheid did not end. He is no longer a young man. He is no longer a young man caught up in artificial visions, and he and his people are still faced with the organized cruelty of white rule and the power and corruption therein. It is very difficult to get the black man to see because of his misplaced emotionalism and abnormal desire to have a hero that Nelson Mandela wasted his life. He gave his life based on his belief in the common good of all men and their basic nature of justice and unselflessness. Those values did not show forth from present government. Mandela's people are still engaged in civil and community wars against each other. Whatever changes are happening in South Africa today, they are having nothing to do with Nelson's prison term. While Mandela will be remembered for making such a personal and dignified sacrifice, what good did his sacrifice actually do to solve racism in South Africa? Granted, he is a great inspiration of the courage and loyalty of a black man leader, but other than that, unfortunately, Nelson Mandela participated in 27-year-long lonely years of an ineffective protest. He is not the leader of South Africa. He is one of the leaders, but at least Mandela and his people are fighting for social and political reform in their homeland. The black man has been fighting for the same thing in a land already claimed by the Native Americans and the white man as theirs and theirs alone. Currently, there are trio photographs being offered to African Americans. There are 3-part photograph set featuring Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X. Back in the early 1970s, the black man was attracted to another trio photograph set featuring pictures of President John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and Bobby Kennedy. Many African Americans proudly purchased these often expensive photo sets and hung them conspicuously in their homes for years. They have been continually searching for a black man to idolize and be worthy, and now is Obama, to be worthy of their verbal support and artificial admiration. I wish I would have read this before, They have never emulated the black man leader beyond voicing their fondness for him. But the 60s and 70s version of the leaders they honored made more political sense because the Kennedys and King allegedly shared, on the surface, many of the same theories for different reasons. Today's version of Mandela, King, Malcolm photos have no business being featured together as a trio because they all had opposing political ideas. While it seems harmless to salute a few notable black men, it is psychologically impossible to sanely support all of them equally because each of their platforms conflicts with each other. For example, number one, Nelson Mandela believes in political resolution negotiations with attacks and war as a last result. Number two, Martin Luther King Jr. stood for nonviolent protests, love for your enemy, and prayer to Jesus. Number three, Malcolm X touted impeding racial war, wanted blacks to adopt Pan-Africanism, and denounced Christianity for Islam. The purpose of publicly promoting black male heroes should be so their values can be used as an example of progress. The fact that many black men claim to support all three of these black men leaders is another example of their confusion regarding who to align themselves with. They do not know how to judge the value of the ideas of black men leaders. Excuse me. Additionally, they think they are owed some kind of special consideration or adjusted treatment because they are black. Whew. Another mistake the black man made politically was to try to alliance himself with the Jewish community because of what they perceived as a unity based on both races being rejected by the Anglo-Saxon Europeans. They had always heard about the anti-Semitic behavior the Gentiles practiced against the Jews because they accused them of killing Jesus. The black man and the Jewish man felt discriminated against in America. The black man is in his untiring search for an ally outside of himself, clasps hands with his Jewish brothers and looks forward to a long but inspirational march for freedom, respect, and equality. However, the Jewish man spent no time in trying to convince the Europeans to accept them as equals, invite them to their parties, hire them on their jobs, or fall in love with them. The Jewish community immediately went about determining their own internal priorities and ignored everyone else's and went directly to work. They had talents and skills they brought with them from their homeland, and through determination and sacrifice and being mocked and insulted, they have built an empire. And they enjoy admiration and respect even from those who disagree with their business tactics. They are not as monolithic as they were 40 years ago, but it has not stopped them from persevering towards success individually. They are motivated, high achievers, while the black man got stuck in a gully he dug himself by never giving up on trying to force the Europeans to share America with them. The Jewish community have the same religion, same traditions, and same linkage to their homeland, which they support vigorously. And the Jewish citizens in their homeland recognize and accept them as members in good standing of their tribe. Not so for the black man. The African citizens living in their motherland are quoted as saying they don't want the American Negro back in Africa because they practice too many of the white man's ways. Their own people do not want them in their present condition and do not recognize them because they have nothing in common anymore. Had the black man been enslaved but allowed to keep his name and religion, things would be different today. There would be a connection, a bond. But their ideas come in as many variations as their European last names. Each of the previously listed black men had opposing notions about about how to go about obtaining freedom, justice, and equality for the black man. Several of them did not even like each other. The following additional list, several of them did not even like each other. The following additional list of an attempt to chart other black male frontliners who over the past year have attempted to bring forth their contribution to the black man leadership pool are the black mayor who the black mayor, every black mayor could conceivably be added to this list. While this list is not fully complete, it demonstrates the wide range of black men leaders who rose to command attention. Some of them made sense, some of them made little sense, and some made no sense at all. However, they represent the boldest ones who had the nerve to step forward with their ideas about how to ease the everyday pain of black life. A few other notable black men leaders. Each of these black men leaders are or were in positions to advise African Americans regarding strategies and priorities to develop jobs, prevent the dissolution of the family, and strengthen the moral foundation of the black community. Number one, Muhammad Ali, boxer, conscious war objector. Number two, Rabbi Ben Ami, the Black Hebrew Israelites. Number three, Malifa Asante, educator of Afrocentricity. Number four, Amiri Baraka, Leroy Jones, militant social activist and writer. Number 5, Yosef Bey, minister and entrepreneur. Number 6, Ralph Boucher. Hey, get out, leave my dictionary alone. Ralph Boucher, UN undersecretary politician. Number 7, Ron DeLumes, civil activist politician. Number 8, Medgar Evers, political reformist and I don't know, COM period. Calm activist. Calm activist. I'm gonna think about it after this is over. Watch. Number 9, Earl Graves, publisher. Number 10, William Gray, politician, UMC director, and also minister. Number 11, Dick Gregory, health expert and social commentator. Number 12, Nathan Hare, Black think tank founder. Number 13, Benjamin Hooks, NAACP director, a lawyer and a minister. Number 7, Yosef Ben Yakanan, historian and educator. Number 15, John H. Johnson, publisher, cosmetic manufacturer. Number 16, Roy Ennis, core director and rights activist. Number 17, Malana Ron Karunga, Kwanzaa founder and educator. Number 18, Minister Louis Farrakhan, NOI and Million Man March facilitator. Number 19, Joseph Lowery, SCLC director and minister. Number 20, Thurgood Marshall, Supreme Court Justice. Number 19, Clarence Pendleton, Civil Rights Commissioner. Number 22, Alvin Passant, MD, psychiatrist and social researcher. Number 23, A. Philip Randolph, labor leader in transportation. Number 24, Paul Robeson, communist lawyer and actor. Number 25, Al Sharpton, community advocate and minister. Number 27, Shelby Steele, professor, social commentator, and author. Number 28, Leon Sullivan, OIF founder. Number 29, Louis Sullivan, MD and U.S. government health director. Number 30, Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice. Number 31, Douglas Wilder, governor, Virginia. Number 32, Carter G. Woodson, founder and Association for Study of Negro Life. Number 33, Andrew Young, UN ambassador and civil rights worker. And number 34, Whitney Young Jr., Urban League director. While the aforementioned list is admittedly only partial, few of them have been able to convey a message to help the Black man improve his condition on a permanent, ongoing basis. Most of the ideas these Black men leaders presented were only temporary. There has never been a major overriding agenda that all Black men agreed upon and worked for collectively regarding their survival. His citizenship remains in peril, and ever so often, a civil rights act or civil rights bill must be endorsed by the government to determine if the Black man will be allowed to continue benefiting from certain basic rights, allegedly already guaranteed for every American in the Constitution. He does not think it odd that he is periodically reevaluated, or that it still takes federal statutes for him to be accepted on the marginal basis. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to think about right there. Rarely does a Black man leader suggest to the Black men that he stop forcing himself into places where he is not wanted and use that energy to build something for himself. Black men leaders should be held accountable for their errors in judgment concerning the needs of the people who rely on them for guidance and truth. Partial proof of their mistake is visibly apparent based on the fact that 60% of the homeless are Black men. And that's in the 80s. I wonder what it is today. The rest are made up of Black women, Black children, and other races. These homeless Black men are in various states of mental disarray, from drug addiction and alcoholism due to alcoholism to insanity to sober poverty. Another 500,000 black men are in jail. The numbers of homosexual black men is growing daily, and many others pursue interracial unions to escape the entire predicament. Employment reports say that approximately 2,000 jobs per week are being eliminated due to downsizing because of a stagnant economy. And as quiet as it's being kept, embracing curriculums in Afrocentricity and celebrating Christmas time Kwanzaa does not help African American men to enhance their survival or improve their lot. Racial incidents are on the rise throughout the country. Tempers are short. Tempers are short. The collapse of black family continues to impact on development of the black males and alienates him from black females. The young claim that contemporary rap music serves as a catalyst for positive public change, but rap has not proven itself to prevent black youth from inflicting crimes on each other. It sure hasn't. To the contrary, rap tends to stimulate ruthless behavior and barbaric language. Word. Black men are dying in various stages of death in shocking recorded number daily. Among all ages and social stratus. The remaining black men have a big responsibility to take steps to save their own lives. Nobody cares whether he lives or dies but him. He has no more time to waste negotiating in the boardroom for crumbs from European controlled tables. He must rearrange his priorities and prepare to make a few personal sacrifices. He'll have to reject the built-in limitations of working by the hour for the regulated monetary boundary. So he should break the habit of a 9-to-5 treadmill and spend every waking hour thinking about how he can survive on his own. Working a 9-to-5 with preset guidelines about what he must do and when to do it stunts his brain and makes him mentally lazy. He functions as a robot of sorts. He is programmed when to rise and when to go to bed, what time to eat and what to do on Sunday. All of these systems are programming. They tell him what to think. He enjoys a regular 9-to-5 job because he doesn't have to give his schedule any special consideration. The black man must devise his own time frames and stop shutting his brain off at 5 p.m. sharp every day. It is time for him to cease leaning on other men for sustenance and to stop begging the courts to pass laws forcing other races to cooperate with his shameful condition by supporting his women and child, or his woman and child. Statistical scientists predict that in less than 50 years, the white man will be the minority in America. Who will the black man count on for jobs or blame for his condition then? Our man needs a new idea, something other than voting to hang all his hopes on. The past 50 years has proven that he can sing, march, complain, or pray himself into a trance, and it won't help him at all. He can't be out of work and out of ideas at the same time, not if he wants to survive. The black man is the greatest and most talented and strongest man on the planet Earth. His enemies hate him and use us to keep him down. The law enforcers fear him and use him to fill the prisons and make money for their incarceration, money from his incarceration. Our man is wandering around and appears useless, confused, and out of touch with the time and what must be done. Our most powerful tool to help him is to love him, work with him, forgive him, and become feminine. This is Miss Ali talking. He needs more than good sex to thrive. Social media is not a lifesaver for the Black family. Our man needs us now more than he ever has. He is the gift God gave to us, and he is in the image of God. Greetings and peace, Shahrazad Ali. That's the book. That's the book. I know I was reading kind of messed up for like the last hour. But that was the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man by Shahrazad Ali, all 12 chapters. We have finished the book. And there's a lot to be said, there's a lot to be learned, and a lot to grow from what her observations were. Whew, man. But we're done. We're done. Thank y'all for sticking around. Facebook, YouTube. We'll come back maybe tomorrow with the next book. We'll see what it is. Either I'm going to read the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman again for YouTube, or I'm going to just get straight into urban survival for the years to come. We have no plan, no control, no money, and no unity. What will we do? By Shahrazad Ali, another one of hers. So we'll probably come back with that one. Either that one or the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. Well, this one's going to be the next one for real for both, for YouTube and Facebook. But I'm going to come back and read this one again for YouTube, since I never read it for YouTube. So another thing, man, when I read these books, majority of all these books that I'm reading them for the first time. So if you're hearing it for the first time, you're not by yourself. I'm reading them and seeing them for the first time, even though I have them up on my shelf. You know, a lot of these books that I haven't read. So I'm trying to get to the position. It's a lot of information in a lot of these books. I've glanced through them, you know, here and there, and picked and pulled stuff here and there from the books, but I've never read all of them in their entirety. So that's what I'm trying to do now, and y'all coming along with me for the journey. So, but we're gonna keep at it, man. Shalom. Thank y'all, everybody who stuck with me. Reading with Shilo, The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man by Shahrazad Ali. Shalom, man. We out.